What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rachel Kennedy, and I am going to fill you in today on what we expect to see in our housing market in the Denver Boulder area in 2023. So let's get to it. All right, so again, my name is Rachel Kennedy. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. If you haven't already done it, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. I release 2 videos each week, one on Tuesday and one on Thursday. So make sure you don't miss any of the topics that we put out each week. They are all geared towards educating our listeners and our subscribers on the Denver housing market, the Boulder housing market, and I talk all things Denver and Boulder housing market, what you need to know living here, what neighborhoods to focus on, schools, all the nitty-gritty stuff that the locals know that you need to know before you make your move out here. I am a licensed realtor, so as much as I'd love making these videos for you, I would love to help you with your real estate needs. So if you are making a move out here to Colorado, make sure to hit me up on the number that's popping up on the screen. I am the person that personally answers and responds to those text messages and those emails. I would love to hear from you. I would love to help educate you on what you need to know. All right, so let's get into what we saw in 2022 before we dig into what we're expecting in 2023. I am recording this video in January of 2023, just for some context on time of year that this data is coming out. So in 2022, we saw our market definitely take a bit of a slowdown. 2022 started off with a bang at the beginning of the year, and then January, February timeline, we started to really feel things start to slow down. If you look at the data, it was actually Easter weekend that we started to see things pull back. But there's a saying in real estate that the market doesn't feel what the data says for about 1 to 3 months afterwards. So meaning the data started to show us the slowdown Easter weekend, but we really didn't start to feel it in the market itself until like June, July. So we saw prices start to go down. We saw buyer activity fall. We saw interest rates go up, which was probably the cause for the buyer activity falling and the prices going down. So anyone who bought at the end of 2022, from April to December of 2022, they were able to get themselves into a pretty decent deal. They were able to lock in seller concessions, negotiate down that price, not have to give up any inspection or appraisal contingencies. So it really felt like a normal market again, which our Denver market has not felt like that since 2019, really, before COVID, which seems like so long ago, but it really wasn't. So now what are we seeing now that we're in 2023? We are starting to see our buyer activity go up. The data shows us a 14% increase week over week since the beginning of the year. And again, I'm at the end of January here. So each week the buyer activity has increased, and we are expected to see another 30 to 40% increase after Super Bowl Sunday. Only time will tell exactly what our market is going to do in 2023, but so far our market is telling us to expect a pretty healthy spring and summer buying and selling season. So what are we starting to see? We're starting to see multiple offers on properties that are positioned really, really well in the market. What do I mean by positioned really well? Positioned really well means priced for the market, so not overshooting on that price, not being overly aggressive, maybe even coming in a little bit below where you feel your market value is to incentivize more buyers to come in, and then that's when multiple offers start happening. So we're talking move-in ready house, nicely staged, maintenance items checked off that list, meaning landscaping is on point, paint touch-ups have been done. Buyers today really want to see a move-in ready house. So anything that is completely move-in ready is going to see multiple offers. It's going to see even more multiple offers if it's priced right. As time goes on and we get further into 2023, we are going to see more multiple offers happening, and I would put money on seeing buyers starting to waive appraisal contingency, waive parts of their inspection, pay over appraised value, etc. So if you are a buyer right now in this early stages of the year, you are positioned really, really well because you're really in this time of the market where we're still seeing some deals, we're still seeing some seller concessions happening, but we're also seeing an uptick in inventory and we're also seeing multiple offers come in. So we have more options, but we also could negotiate a deal and get those seller concessions in there for you. Now, what can we do with a seller concession? A seller concession could be used to buy down your interest rate. It could be used towards paying your closing costs. So there's multiple ways to leverage a seller concession, and it's a huge way for buyers to get into a home with a smaller amount of money out of their own personal pockets. Inventory is actually up by 90% from this time last year. So what does that mean? That means that the buyers out there in the market right now have 90% more choices. That's bananas to me. I want to say, and don't quote me on this, but I want to say last year at this time, there was one house for every 5 buyers with a 90% increase, just spitballing here. Again, don't quote me on my numbers, but I would aim to guess there's probably 3 houses for every 1 buyer right now. Now, what's going to happen as we get deeper into the year? More buyers are going to come out of the woodwork. So you're going to have more competition for those 3 houses. So if you're in a buyer in the market today and you have the choice between 3 houses, if you're a buyer in the market in say April, May, you may only have 1 choice, maybe 2 choices, and you might have competition on those 2 choices. So all this to say, not to scare you by any means, but our economy here in Colorado is a really, really healthy economy with many industries holding up the strength of that economy, which is why our housing market fared so well through the 2008 crash. I'm from Michigan personally, and I know that tons of friends and family lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on the values of their homes. My mom even owned her house for 20 years, and after 20 years of ownership, she sold it for $3,000 more than she bought it for 20 years before that. Out here in Colorado, we did not experience that much of a fall in values. I want to say at the most we saw a 7% decrease in our values, but over the average of the years, we only saw a loss of about 3%. I'm pulling this from memory, so again, don't quote me, don't be mad if those numbers aren't right. Feel free to do your diligence and test me on those numbers, but that is what I'm recalling from memory. So all that to say that our economy here in Colorado is really, really strong. We have multiple industries holding it up. Like I mentioned, we have aerospace, we have tech coming in, growing really strongly in Boulder. We have a huge education system with 2 major universities, one just outside of Denver, one in the heart of Denver. We have a ton of healthcare. If you look at our hospital system in Denver, I want to say we have like 6 or 7 major hospitals right in Denver. We have a huge healthcare system tied with that education. So we have a really, really strong job market in healthcare, education, tech, and aerospace, driving our economy and keeping that economy really strong. How does a strong economy translate into supporting the housing market? By having several industries support our economy here in Denver, that just means that we are not reliant on our workforce being paid through one specific economy. Michigan is a great example. Michigan's economy was built on the auto industry. So when the auto industry collapsed, when GM collapsed, that's when their whole economy fell apart. Now here in Colorado, we have several industries like aerospace, tech, education, and healthcare feeding that economy. So that if we see mass layoffs in the tech industry like we're seeing right now, that doesn't necessarily mean that our economy is going to wipe out, because we have several other facets that are keeping us at a healthy level. Moral of the story is that 2023 will most likely look very similar to our 2013 to 2019 housing market. That just means that it's going to err on the side of the seller, meaning the seller's probably going to have the upper hand but it's going to be much, much more balanced than we saw 2020 to 2022. How am I advising my clients right now? I'm telling my buyers that if you are thinking about a move in 2023, to get your ducks in a row sooner rather than later. The longer you wait, the more competition you're going to have, and the more aggressive you're going to have to get in your negotiations and in the price point that you're willing to pay. Now, I'll encourage you not to get stuck on the interest rates, because we all know this has been a huge topic of discussion. And of course, it is a factor in the decision of whether or not to buy. And in certain price points, it has hindered those buyers, especially entry level, to get into the housing market with a bump in interest rates of even just 1%. It all of a sudden makes home ownership unaffordable. But that's not necessarily true for all price points in our market. If you time the market right and you're willing to negotiate and you're willing to be patient, right now in the market, we can lock in seller concessions and buy down that interest rate from a 6% to maybe a 4%. And also remember that your interest rate is not forever. Once we see those interest rates start to go back down, which we're starting to see right now, then you have the opportunity to refinance. So I tell my buyers, if you're comfortable with the payment today at, let's say, a 6% or a 5% interest rate, then we know that it can only get better because you have that interest rate locked in. So if you're comfortable with that payment today and interest rates go up, that doesn't affect you. But if interest rates go down, then you have the opportunity to refinance into that lower rate and then decrease your mortgage payment. So some of us have to make moves. Some of us have the choice to stay. It's really up to you and your personal situation, whether you're moving into Colorado, out of Colorado, or just curious about the market in general out here. I would be honored to talk with you. My number is popping up below. I am the person to respond to all of those emails and text messages. I love talking real estate. This is my passion, so I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me today.